The linguist Noam Chomsky spent a long career trying to figure out the structure of language in order to figure out the structure of the human mind. Here he is refining his thinking in a page of his 1955 manuscript, Logical Structure of Linguistic Theory. His conclusion was that language could be reduced to some basic logical structures and that these must be biologically written into the human brains, and that as a consequence there are no human differences of any significance. All languages, he said, have essentially the same structure. In his analysis of the Native American Hopi language, Benjamin Lee Whorf came to the opposite conclusion. Take notions of time, for instance. Hopi verbs have 9 aspects, he discovered, all implicating time in delicately graduated ways not explicitly marked in English tenses. Punctual, durative, segmentative, punctual segmentative, inceptive, progressional, spatial, objective, and continuative. It is not possible to align these with the English past, present, future. The Hopi present past is that which, quoting Whorf now, is accessible to the senses, the historical physical universe. The Hopi future is that which is manifesting processes of eventuation, captured in anticipations that must in their nature be subjective. At the edge of the present past and the future is the inceptive. Hopi, Whorf concludes, contains abstractions for which our language, English, lacks adequate terms. Together with fellow linguist Edward Sapir, Whorf proposed the thesis of linguistic relativity. Different languages, he says, reflect different ways of thinking in different cultures. Hopi experience time differently from English speakers in the Western cultural context. Now a space example. Here we've travelled to northern Queensland, Australia, into Gugu Yimithirr country. Jack Bambi tells a story in Gugu Yimithirr language about when he and a companion were in a mission boat that capsized and they had to swim to shore through shark-infested waters. Telling the story 30 years later, Jack gestures in reference to the beach where they came ashore. His gesture is not relative to his narrating self. It is an absolute coordinate in the natural world which might call dead reckoning. Gugu Yimithirr experience, place and movement are figured in terms of 4 cardinal coordinates: Gunga, Jiba, Naga, and Guaru. Gugu Yimithirr people express place not in relative reference to themselves, but in terms of these absolute coordinates. Instead of an ego-centered relativity of place, where I might say that you are on my left or right, a Gugu Yimithirr will say that you are to my east or to my west. Rather than ask someone to move back from the table, they might say, Kuyugu Mehe, move a bit to the west. This, by contrast, is how we do our wayfinding with GPS. Subjectively, GPS puts the movable ego at the center of the world and everything is relative to ourselves. Turn left, says the irascible voice, ever ready to bark. Turn back when you have made a mistake. Recenter with the directional arrow, and the map puts the ego back into the center of the world. I'm not trying to denigrate GPS. It's a remarkable intellectual and practical achievement in which Gladys West played a key role, transposing spatial coordinates into numbers. It is these calculations that design your way to a destination on dynamic maps that are never the same twice. GPS is certainly a marvel of multimodal transposition. But Gugu Yimithirr is a very different way to live in space, a different kind of sensitivity to the place of humans in the natural world. The Gugu Yimithirr sense of place in the cosmos is geocentric. When tethered to our GPS, ours is egocentric. To pass Google You Mehe is to demand critical self-reflection on the current state of humanity and the ecological crisis we have participated in by our modern egocentrism. So, what is universal about human experience in our species nature? And what is the scope for differences? Behind me are some of the concepts we explore on our transpositional grammar, laid out here in our rough supermarket order. You can find a more readable version on our website, meaningpattern.net. The two examples I've just given are about time and place. Time and place are universal, objective, absolutely non-negotiable dimensions of the human experience. But our making sense of them can be very different. We can trace those differences by contrasting the dynamics of transposition. Just how far can we push the transposition? We would say a long way. We would argue including into the places of utopia or hellish possibilities that are yet unimaginable. But wherever we arrive, our meanings there will work to address reference, agency, structure, context, and interest. This is in our human natures, and much of this as well is in the natures of all sentient creatures.